Spider-Man!
That was so good. Hey, sorry I'm late. Happy.
You look nice.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. New dress?
Yes, it is. How'd you know?
What just happened?
Planning a trip?
Mm-hmm. Going to Europe. It's a school trip.
Did you get your passport?
Peter Parker here to pick up a passport, please.
Mini toothpaste?
Mm-hmm.
Pack your suit.
I just want to go on my trip with my friends. Europe doesn't really need a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You look really pretty.
Therefore, I have value.
No, that's not right.
I'm messing with you. You look pretty too.
I just want to spend some time with MJ. I think she really likes me, dude.
That reminds me when I first fell in love. I had just finished my fruit cobbler.
So nice to finally meet you, Spider-Man.
You're Nick Fury.
Put some clothes on. Let's go for a ride.
Is he gonna be okay like that?
Might want to turn him over so he doesn't swallow his tongue.
I think Nick Fury just hijacked our summer vacation.
Awesome!
You got gifts, Parker, but you have a job to do. Are you going to step up or not?
You're all alone. Your friends are in trouble. What are you gonna do about it?
You don't want any part of this.
Who is that guy?
He's like Iron Man and Thor rolled into one.
He's no Spider-Man.
What is it with you and Spider-Man?
What, he looks out for the neighborhood, has a dope suit, and I really respect him. Sup, dickwad?
Hey guys, welcome back to another one of my videos. We've got ourselves a Spider-Man Far From Home trailer to break down. So obviously it is very exciting, even though Spider-Man Homecoming was not the greatest of Marvel movies so far, but still exciting. We've got Aunt May in the mix, we've got Nick Fury showing up, which means that S.H.I.E.L.D. is back in play. How will that ever affect Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I wonder? I'm gonna be trying to discuss that on another video that I'll be posting later on this month. But, and as I just made it clear, we've really got a lot going on over there. So without further ado, let's get started and let's go. And number 1, Spider-Man's aunt is all in on the Spider-Man equation now, and she does seem to be fine with it. From what it seems on the trailer, she seems to be extremely supportive of it. She seems to be pretty psyched about it as well. So it does kind of remind me of something in recent memory, that being the role of Aunt May on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But all of this does go to tell us as well that she's over her shock upon discovering that Peter was Spider-Man at the end of Homecoming. It's all quite interesting though, considering she is the one who advised him to run the other way early on or halfway through the events of Homecoming if he saw any trouble coming. So yeah, that's a total change of attitude over there. But all of this does bring us to number 2. It's not just that May Parker is all in on it, but she's also using his status as Spider-Man to raise money for the homeless on one of the earlier scenes of the trailer. So working for these kind of charities is actually a staple of her character in the comics, when she's not presented as too old and one step or two away from the grave. But moving on to number 3, the check that Happy Hogan brings in as one of the donations to the homeless. That check is obviously and clearly signed by Pepper Potts. So essentially, it does raise the question of the fate of Tony Stark as of the end of Endgame. Now, while some might view this as some kind of Avengers Endgame Easter egg, it's not really any kind of Easter egg. It's just something that they're doing in order to hide the outcome of Avengers Endgame, not give away any kind of possible outcome from Avengers Endgame a few months before it releases. That would be stupid, really. So what are our options over here? 1, it could mean that Tony Stark is dead and never coming back. 2, it just means that Pepper Potts has a certain kind of authority within Stark Industries. It is definitely the biggest possibility out there because she's been with him forever, she's been in the company forever, and as of the beginning of Infinity War, they were already planning their wedding. So whether or not Tony Stark dies at the end of Avengers Endgame, Pepper Potts just probably has got the power. Number 4, something is going on between Aunt May and Happy. There's a little bit of flirting in the air. So Spider-Man Far From Home seems to have retconned the shit out of her seeming crush, Aunt May's seeming crush that is, on Tony Stark, which is something that I think we all noticed during her earlier appearances as Aunt May in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Number 5, a trip to Europe. That's obviously the Far From Home part. Number 6, that also makes this the first Spider-Man movie to actually happen far from home, outside the borders of the US. Number 7, the deli's wall, right behind the counter. That's pretty much a wall of fame for Spider-Man. That is the same deli as well that did get attacked on Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 8, the letters BFP on Peter's suitcase could be a reference to Benjamin Parker, otherwise known as Uncle Ben. Let's remember here that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is trying to avoid repeating the same Spider-Man movies all over again. They don't want to do things that have been done before. So, I believe this is why they're trying not to use villains that were previously used on other Spider-Man movies. They cast this Hot Aunt May version, and they're also trying not to do the whole Uncle Ben storyline. So, I suppose if they cannot or do not want to do Uncle Ben like all the other Spider-Man movies to avoid repetition, at least there isn't exciting enough they can give us an Easter egg to hunt for. Give the guy a nod as well, the guy who happens to be a staple of the Spider-Man comics and the Spider-Man movies. But moving on to number 9, Peter Parker not having a birth year on his passport. That was quite funny. However though, besides the mildly funny aspect of all of it, it could be a reference to the kind of rebirth that he is going to be getting due to the events of Endgame. Just a small reference here. It might as well be a reference to the kind of changes that we're expecting, changes incoming as a product of the events of Endgame, all over the place. Number 10, the US trailer might be missing this bit, but the international trailers got it. So while it seems that Peter might have ignored his suit and decided not to take it along with him on his trip to Europe, Aunt May's just made sure he's got it on him, and he does realize it in quite the funny scene during airport security check at his destination. Number 11, a relationship with Michelle, MJ, is being pursued here, something a lot of us expected on Spider-Man Homecoming, only it was replaced with his relationship with Liz. But the good thing over here is that we now know that she is MJ. So even though Michelle Jones, she is practically the Marvel Cinematic Universe's version of Mary Jane Watson from the comics and from previous movies. But number 12, S.H.I.E.L.D. seems to be back. So meeting up with Nick Fury halfway through the trailer, so dark, so serious, so Nick Fury. Very Ultimate Spider-Man with Spider-Man meeting Nick Fury for the very first time in a very serious moment. Well, he was at least serious until he cracked that joke about Ned, because Nick Fury, or not, this is Samuel Jackson that we're talking about here. But number 13, we get so many comic book looks for Spider-Man. We get a look at the black and red version of the Spider-Man suits, we get the web wings, and we finally get some version of a stealth suit. Number 14, the first thing that comes to mind when you see the elementals are Sandman, Molten Man, and Hydro Man. It all does add up. At first it does make perfect sense, but then again, a while back they revealed they did not want to use villains or bring in villains that played roles on previous Spider-Man movies. That is why they obviously didn't do the bit about the origin story with Ben Parker and all. So, I would assume that they're not going to bring Sandman in, considering he played a role on Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 3. That leaves us with Hydro Man and Molten Man, but the fact that the first guy is probably not Sandman has me thinking the second and the third are more like Hellfire and Hydron, making the first one Magnum. That would essentially imply that the three of them are part of the villainous team-up of 4 known in the comics as the Elementals, which would as well mean that we're yet to meet Zephyr, the fourth of these Elementals. Now it is always possible that they're pulling off one of those 2-in-1 situations, giving us combos of multiple characters out of the comics that would together still form the Elementals team-up, only they're kind of different. So Zephyr in this case might be just Zephyr or replaced by someone else, but Hydron, Magnum, and Hellfire would be replaced by Hydro Man, Sandman, and Molten Man, respectively. Now I know that the LEGO sets have people thinking Molten Man and deducing Hydro Man, but the LEGO sets have been misleading sometimes in the past, even though they have been accurate most of the time. For example, checking the toys, people did deduce that the Soul Stone was in Heimdall's eyes as of the release of the Lego set, yet Heimdall had nothing to do with it and died like 5 minutes into the movie. But anyway, there is still one final possibility because number 15 entered Mysterio and his ability as a master illusionist. Mysterio in the comics is a Spider-Man villain, yet the light being shed on him over here is one of a hero. So it is kind of possible that he's creating these elemental illusions, making a hero out of himself, only to be later on in the events of the movie revealed as a villain. That means that all of it could possibly be part of his game, making sure, and as indicated by the final scene, he's actually viewed as this Iron Man and Thor rolled into one superhero. Anyway though, my favorite options over here are the Elementals and the Mysterio illusion theory, because both options avoid the use of multiple major villains from the comics on just the one movie, plus the crowding of all of it won't make it a real success if they do that. You gotta love though how Marvel has left us behind debating this. They did give us a trailer and have us try to guess who's who of the comic book villains. Number 16, the number on the yacht or boat or whatever you want to call it, the 212, it could be used as a reference to Spider-Man Volume 1, number 212, which actually was the first appearance of Morris Bench as Hydro Man. But does that mean that one of the villains we're seeing over here is Hydro Man? Yes, it is a possibility, but it might as well be nothing more than a simple Easter egg. But moving on to number 17, Flash Thompson's let's call it crush on Spider-Man is not only true to the comics, but it is quite funny as well. I mean, the guy makes a speech about the awesomeness of Spider-Man, then turns to Peter Parker and calls him a loser. It couldn't really get funnier at that moment considering all the irony in the situation. Number 18, I believe this is the Avengers Tower under reconstruction. But finally though, number 19, we know that the movie is gonna pick up right after the events of Endgame, very close to the end of the events of Endgame. We know as well that we're going to be seeing Vulture on the movie, if all that we have heard of Michael Keaton's return for this movie is true. One last thing that we know as well is that Avengers Endgame is going to make a lot of changes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to the world as we know it. So thanks to the guys on Discord for pointing this out, but they do believe that they don't want to give us anything happening in NY because they don't want to reveal anything that's an outcome of Avengers Endgame. And I do believe that as well, it makes a lot of sense actually, so I'm thinking that's exactly why we're not seeing a lot of NY. I think that a decent part of the movie is going to be spent in NY, and I think as well that we're only going to see those kind of scenes after Endgame releases. But anyway though, I believe it was an amazing trailer. If my Discord server is proof of anything, it is proof that Marvel has succeeded once again in releasing a stellar trailer that is having everyone wondering and theorizing. But that being said though, let me know in the comments what you thought of the trailer, if you think those guys are the elementals from the comics or they are elementals only in the description of their nature kind of sense, and they are rather totally different villains. Let me know as well if you think Mysterio is going to be presented all the way in this hero kind of light, because I don't think so. Now, if you did like this video, make sure you drop it one of those much appreciated likes, and if that were to be the case, you can always subscribe and enable notifications for my future videos, community posts, and live streams. But until the next time you tune in for another one of my videos, thank you so much for tuning in to this one, and have a perfect day.